Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing a Murder. So we're back on the Chad Daybell trial. He's accused of killing two children, J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and his wife, Tammy Daybell. However, his attorney, John Pryor, is trying to prove otherwise, that Chad Daybell really didn't play any type of significant role when it comes to the deaths of these three beautiful people. If you're not familiar with this case, well, it's best you get familiar. It's very confusing. There's a lot of people in this circle. You can check out my Life Beyond the Grave series, which is very detailed. It's long, but it's detailed. You'll learn basically everything you ever wanted to know. So on day 10 of Chad Daybell's trial, there were a few witnesses that were quite interesting. One of them being Brenda Dye, which is the coroner for that area. As you know, the Daybells lived in Rexburg or Salem, Idaho. Today, we're going to talk about a few of those major points in Chad Daybell's case when Brenda Dye was one of the witnesses speaking for prosecutors. October 19th, 2019. Brenda Dye says that she was called out to a death at the Chad Daybell home. Her initial understanding of what happened to Tammy Daybell that day was it was a natural death. But she testified that she felt sorry for not recognizing that Tammy Daybell's death should have been investigated closer.
Physically check her or touch her.
Yes. I asked if that is the position she was in when she was found, and Chad told me no, she was hanging half off the bed with her face and head towards the floor on her left side. When he discovered she was deceased, he called for Garth to help him, whose bedroom is across the hall, and they picked her up off the floor and put her on the bed and covered her with a blanket.
So what stood out to me in this case from the very beginning is the fact that they didn't call 911 to get help to save her life like most normal people would do in this situation. Instead, Chad was very quick to accept that she was beyond help. That wasn't in his mind. She was frozen. He even had time to call his son to help put her back into bed for some odd reason, since she had somehow fell out of the bed after she died. Lividity says that she had died on her back, but that is not the way that Chad found her. He said that he found her where she had fell off the bed, laying facing the floor to the left. Her feet were still on the bed. Why? Because they were wrapped in blankets. Chad said that he felt something when he went to pull the covers. Then he noticed that she had fell. It doesn't make sense. You can't even make it make sense. And then she was just frozen. So there's no way that she could have had rigor mortis set in within seconds or minutes. But this is something Brenda Dye says she doesn't recognize at first. This is probably one of the most valuable lessons she will ever have as a coroner. It'd probably make her be one of the best coroners from now on. The fact that she had overlooked so many red flags was very concerning. Now, they never really were able to pinpoint exactly how Tammy died. They just said it was asphyxiation. Remember, they believed that she was diagnosed by the coroner as having natural causes, embolism, pulmonary problems. And remember, there's no way to determine that unless you do an autopsy, which didn't happen. There is a way to figure out the possibility of how Tammy might have died. Now, remember, they found tramadol and Tammy Daybell's system, and you got to remember that she tried not to take regular medications. She tried to go natural. She absolutely had to take medication from a doctor that is prescribed to her, she was very lenient with it. But it seems that the whole bottle of tramadol had disappeared. And this doesn't make sense. Let's jump back to Lori Vallow's statement right before the judge sentenced her. There is a big clue there.
After the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. Jesus knows me. And Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn, my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen.
Okay, let's go over what we know about the deaths of these three people, right? So we know that JJ was found intact in the ground, wrapped in duct tape and plastic bags. Tylee Ryan was found in pieces, guys, charred. Her remains were in clumps and masses and scattered. I have trouble talking about this. Then you have Tammy. Cause of death, asphyxiation. They're not sure exactly how that happened. So we know that Tammy says she isn't feeling well. She's having coughing fits. She feels out of her body and she's vomiting. These are all side effects, can be side effects on taking too much tramadol. All right, let's listen to what Lori says once again.
Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen.
So she admits that she knows that they're dead now, whereas before she just said that they were safe. Tammy had died of natural causes. So I believe that she's telling you somewhat the truth here on how they died. Anyone who knows this story and knows Lori Vallow, that you apply opposite day to everything she says. So when she's saying no one's been murdered, most likely they've been murdered. In between the lies are truths, though manipulated. I believe most likely that Tammy Daybell, because Charles Vallow had tried to poison Charles with JJ's medication, that possibly this same idea was put into place for Tammy Daybell using her own medications. When she woke up at 12:30 a.m. sick, I think things didn't go as planned, and there's a chance that there might have been even an assisted death on top of the medication. This is speculation. What do you guys think? After hearing what I just shared with Lori's statement, she gives you hints of how these deaths actually happened. Who do you think had the accident? Who had the suicide? And who had fatal medication overdose? All of us were so shocked when we first started following this case and learned that Tammy's toxicology report, sorry, I get tongue-tied, all the information of how she passed was so delayed and so limited, it was disappointing. Because many of us were like, they're not doing what they need to do to solve this case. At least give us the information and let us try. Even the most disappointing part of this, I think, to many of us following the case as well, is how the kids were so sure that their father, Chad Daybell, could have nothing to do with this, even though much of this evidence coming out suggested otherwise. What we noticed is a lot of them were following Emma's footsteps. And you got to remember, Emma, Chad's oldest child and daughter, has been mixed up in her father's drama starting back in 2015 or even earlier concerning Julie Rowe. Getting online and pretending to be someone else and making some very not so nice comments at times. Back then, very defensive for Julie Rowe and her father, Chad Daybell, because you had several Mormons that were like, look, these two, I am thinking they are 100% fake. So Emma has always defended her father, never considering the fact maybe what he's doing might not be right. So many people are kind of shocked that she hasn't woke up and accepted that some of this evidence really makes her father walk in a darker light. I've noticed that Emma Daybell is a lot like her father. So, and not to be disrespectful, but she is a bit manipulative. But she was hanging out with everyone who were master manipulators like her father and Julie Rowe. Not exactly the greatest role model for young children. The Daybell children grew up living a lie. And it's sad because these are your parents. These are the people you trust most. They're your blood. How could they do something like this? So, I mean, I put myself in those shoes. It'd be difficult to see my father be accused of anything of this sort, even if the evidence pointed to so. I would want to see evidence that was never going to come, because that's what you do for people you love. It takes a lot of understanding and listening to facts in order to wake up and accept the truth. So will these kids eventually accept the truth? There's a possibility. I think Garth has already done this. I've gone way off of what I wanted to talk about, so let's kind of stop there. So let's talk about Tammy Daybell's death. It's not fun, but I feel like it's important. So if Tammy were to take an overdose of tramadol, well, that seems to fit some of the symptoms that Chad Daybell says that his wife was having. Though, was he telling the truth of the time frame that she was experiencing these symptoms? Coughing fits, which usually could be a sign of breathing issues, low blood pressure, seizures, vomiting, lightheadedness, dizziness. Here's the thing, is we've never heard anything from her family of Tammy having any health problems. Nothing like seizures. And the fact that Chad mentions this, to me, is very important in the investigation of this case. This means that there's a possibility that they were researching, what happens when you take too much of a medication. That's speculation, but I would love to know what they found. We don't hear anything when it comes to this investigation of what they do really know. This should be a slam dunk case, as sloppy as Chad and Lori are, but it isn't as slam dunk as it could be. And the fact that Charles was giving them blatant warnings way ahead of time, Kay Woodcock, all these people, and supposedly, remember, at one point, investigators were supposed to be surveilling Alex Cox. They didn't do a very good job at that either. So I just often wonder what went wrong and why did it go wrong with this case. We are lucky enough to have a few witnesses that know what they know and that are sharing that information. I'm going to go ahead and close out here because I want to go over more of the witnesses. I kind of went a little bit into deeper detail than I wanted to with this video, but I couldn't help it. If you're new to this case, trust me, there's information that you might think you have it all, but you don't. And I want to share some of the things that you guys are sharing. I'm putting that together now. It's taking some time. If you want to share your comments, write your comments below this video and say share. Don't forget, we have missing girls out there. Their stories are forgotten, but they are not forgotten by the people who love them most and who are hoping for answers. They're hoping to bring their loved ones home. People like Dulce, Jasmine Robinson, Summer Wells, and there's so many more. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. Help me out, guys. I need all the help I can get. I work very hard for you guys. I hope you appreciate it, and I hope it's something that you enjoy. I'm trying to help people. That's what I do mostly here. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.